night settles over the East End in a muted, colorless way. Cool air gathers in narrow streets, drifting between rows of brick buildings. A faint mist clings to the ground, softening the edges of cobblestone and lamplight. Nothing moves with urgency. A distant cartwheel, a lone footstep, the quiet tug of wind around a corner. The city stands with its shoulders slightly hunched, as if bracing against something unseen. This is a London of the late 1800s. Crowded, tired, and yet somehow still. Breath forms clouds that disappear the moment they are made. Windows give off dull glows, most of the city sleeps, and the rest keeps its distance. Here, in this muted landscape, a story unfolded. A story that has remained unresolved for more than a century. A story shaped as much by what is known as by what drifted silently into uncertainty. There was a figure, not clearly seen, not firmly remembered, a presence that moved through these dim streets with quiet familiarity. People would later give him a name that grew larger than the person who inspired it, a name that traveled far beyond the small, cramped corners where it began. But at the start, there was only a series of quiet disruptions, moments that broke the routine of early morning discovery, signs that something had happened in the night that no one had witnessed in its unfolding. And so London began to speak, softly at first. Rumors carried from doorway to doorway, whispers gathering under gas lamps, a sense of unease forming like the fog itself. The events took place over a span of months in 1888, a short period when measured against the weight of years since, yet long enough for the name to form and the mystery to take root. Women living and working in Whitechapel were found in the early hours, their final moments unknown, their movements in the dark only partly retraced. What is certain is limited. Several individuals were last seen walking alone, moving through familiar streets in the late evening or early morning. Simple details that have been preserved: a turn down a narrow lane, a brief conversation at a street corner, a figure walking behind them and then gone. The timeline is a small structure, sparse, a handful of points on a larger map of uncertainty. Between these points, only silence remains. Each discovery was made by someone beginning their day. A passerby, a worker, a resident opening a door to the morning air. They found what should not have been there, a stillness that did not belong to the ordinary rhythm of sunrise. Authorities were called. Streets were cordoned. People gathered quietly at the edges, their breath forming pale clouds in the cool dawn. The pattern became unmistakable. The locations were close to each other. The timing suggested someone comfortable moving in darkness, someone who understood the neighborhood's narrow paths and its moments of isolation. But even these observations added only a small amount of clarity. No description could be agreed on. No single path could be followed. Every trail seemed to fade before it could truly begin. There were items left behind, clothing, personal belongings, letters sent to newspapers, though their authenticity remains uncertain. A fragment of cloth discovered later in the autumn attached the mystery to yet another corner of Whitechapel. Its presence suggested movement. But whose movement and under what circumstances remained open to interpretation. Witness accounts offered partial shapes: a hat pulled low, a coat of indeterminate color, a posture noticed only briefly. These pieces sit in the historical record like objects behind frosted glass, visible yet indistinct, interpretable yet unconfirmed. In the years since, many have tried to fill the silence. Some believe the individual was a local resident who blended easily into Whitechapel's crowded streets. It is possible he was someone passing through, here only briefly, leaving before the city understood what had happened. Others suggest the person may have lived an ordinary life by day and walked the fog-bound streets at night with intentions unknown to those around him. There are theories involving well-known names and others involving people whose identities never extended beyond the neighborhood. Some believe the letters sent to the press were the work of journalists or individuals unrelated to the events. Others hold that at least one letter may have been written by the person responsible. None of these ideas stand on firm ground. Each rests partly in evidence and partly in the long shadow of time. The truth remains somewhere beyond reach, not denied, but simply unrecovered. London has changed since then. The streets are wider. Buildings have risen where others once stood. The fog still settles in autumn, but the gas lamps are long gone. Yet certain corners of Whitechapel still carry an echo, a sense of narrow passageways and quiet, early morning stillness that existed long before modern life reshaped the city. If you walk through these streets today, you may feel the presence of history more than the memory of any single event. The air seems to hold a faint heaviness, not threatening, but reflective, as if the past still moves quietly just behind the present. What happened here belongs not only to a person, but to a place that remembers even when the details remain obscured. More than a century has passed. The fog still drifts over London in the early hours. The bricks still darken with moisture after a night of mist. The figure once known only through rumor and later through fear has dissolved into the passing of years. What remains is a shape without edges, a story held together by fragments, moments frozen in old reports, in old maps, in the quiet testimony of streets that have seen much more than they reveal. Some believe the answer is still out there. Others feel it may never have existed in the way people once imagined. Time continues forward, softly, the way mist moves across pavement. The mystery stays where it always has. Not solved, not forgotten, simply present in the calm space between what is known and what is left unspoken.